Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. This one a Training Friday edition, the last bullet we're going to have before Christmas Day. There is going to be no Saturday show this week. If there's one thing I've learned over doing this for several years is that on holidays and the days before and after a holiday, there's nobody there if I broadcast. We do get some downloads in the future, but there's nobody there on that day. And so I decided this year for Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve we're not going to be doing a show. We will be going back to the Saturday shows on the 7th of January. But I want to remind everybody as we get started, oops, I want to click there. I want to remind everybody as we get started that if you're watching on the Polite Society podcast YouTube feed or you're catching us on Facebook on the Polite Society podcast page, you can comment on the live video. We'll get your comments. We'll get them on the air. If you're catching us anywhere else, go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. And let me close some of this up so I can see what I'm doing and bring in my co-host, which is Tom Walls. There you are, Tom Walls of the Firearms Academy of Seattle. Tom, I got to give you credit. The show topic today is all on you. You suggested it, and I thought, yeah, let's run with that. Today's topic is firearms and Christmas. Do the two really go together? Let's start off with this, Tom. If you want to give your wife or your son or daughter or a close relative a firearm for Christmas, in most areas, and we can speak specifically about South Dakota, we can speak specifically about Washington State, but do your own research for your own area. You can give a firearm to a close family member, at least in South Dakota and Washington State, right?
In Washington State, yeah. Diane and I have gifted each other firearms since, holy crap. The first firearm I gave her, she asked for on our second wedding anniversary. And I think Nixon was Ford was president, so it's been a while. Okay. In the state of Washington, it's laid out in law, assuming that your significant other or whomever is not a prohibited person. In other words, it's not prohibited by law somewhere for possessing a firearm, and understand the difference between possession and ownership. I mean, you have it in your hand. Whoever bought it may be the owner, but if you're in possession, that's the violation of law. So that said, in Washington, spouses, fathers, sons, mothers, daughters, I think cousins, and I would look before I did that, grandsons, granddaughters, nieces, nephews. I think if you're looking at your fourth cousin twice removed, the law may not see it the same way you'd like to, but it's written in statute. So certainly do everything you do legally.
Yeah.
But that said, it's a little late to be buying one right now.
It is. We're 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah, but if you did, or if you find out that somebody in your circle of friends or family has received one as a gift, wouldn't it be neat if you could get involved somehow?
Absolutely. Let's start with.
Let's kick it around.
Yeah. If we're going to take this from the premise that you're going to be giving a firearm, and we'll take it from there, or. Because I don't think the process varies too much if you find out somebody's gotten a firearm. So let's get started with they've got a gun. Now what? My suggestion would be having a very frank and honest conversation with them. Find out, do they intend on, if they live in a free state like South Dakota, do they intend on carrying that thing? Do they intend on, at first, just using it for home protection? What do they plan on doing with it? And you can go from there.
I would take even one more step farther back from that, Paul.
Okay.
And what's their experience level? Let me tell you why I say that. At the Firearms Academy of Seattle and all the other instructors that I have as friends across the United States, we're all seeing the same thing, the same general pattern. We're seeing more non-traditional firearms students in classes. The culture today is, if I want to learn how to do something, I take a class, which is good.
Yes.
And frankly, FAS is in the business to do that, as are many of us, and being paid for a professional service is not a bad thing. But the clientele has changed, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast. When I started teaching at FAS back about 2005, our very introductory class, which was, the bullet thingy comes out the hole in the front when you pull the trigger thing. I mean, it's extremely basic, because unlike you and I, they didn't grow up playing the politically incorrect cowboys and Indians, guns, stuff. They don't know this, so they're taking a class. We would see 10 to 15% female in a class of 15, 20 people. The last few years, it has consistently been 50% or slightly higher. We're seeing more people of color. Washington, in the rural areas where we are, is pretty Caucasian. We're getting people from Seattle, Portland, some of the bigger cities, the metro areas, that are what we consider non-traditional. They may not have the same political beliefs we do. They may not have the same interpersonal, intimate relationships we do. They may not vote or even speak the same language or have the same skin tone we do, but they're coming, asking every instructor, every professional instructor among our folks. They're asking for help with this device that they have been given or purchased, for whatever reason that is, and the reasons we see are changing. Instead of, I'm here because my husband made me come, my boyfriend wanted to take me to dinner and this is what it's going to cost him. We're seeing, we live early because of the riots, especially 2020 and 2021. I had one comment that was golden. The gentleman simply said, "Have you seen the world lately?"
Mm-hmm.
They're coming to us and they're trusting us to give them the basic skills to generally to protect in some way that they understand life. They don't know exactly how. They don't know how it's going to play out, but they know that they need to do something. And they know that the firearm is the great equalizer. So
we should explain,
finding that motivation.
We should explain real quick that Firearms Academy of Seattle has a great name. However, it's not exactly accurate. You're not in Seattle.
Originally, we were.
Yes. But right now, where the Firearms Academy of Seattle is physically, is about halfway between Seattle and Portland.
Roughly, yeah.
And
roughly.
So,
it started out in Seattle, and because the name and the logo were already established.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of folks from the Seattle, Tacoma area, and a lot of folks from Portland, Vancouver.
Yeah. So, I would imagine when the riots were real bad down in Portland, that you got several people from that direction that came up.
We did, and we still do. We get other folks too. We get folks that are just interested or want the prerequisite for some of our more advanced classes. We occasionally will get folks individually or as a group for church security teams, and we're seeing a few more of those as time goes by. Some schools actually offer church security team training. We don't offer it individuals specifically, although we can do a special class. I think any instructor can tailor a special class for a special needs group. But the fact that they're looking for training beyond what they've seen on television and movies and other media. And I think that's a prime opportunity for us, just as gun owners, not necessarily instructors, to model the behavior that we would want to see in other shooters. This is like maybe a one-time chance to start them in the right direction, to show that we're not all wearing wife beaters and chewing tobacco and talking about killing my deer. Not that there's anything wrong with nice venison in the fridge, but it's
or venison jerky. I love venison jerky.
Oh, my bonus daughter, Kat Stevens in Texas. I wish she lived closer because her freezer's full of venison and hog right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that said, so we're talking about an opportunity, and they're enthused because they got this new Christmas present. They want to take it out. So I think we could talk, you and I, about what we can do to get these folks happily and safely on a good path that will give it something to them, give them some fun, give them some basic knowledge, help them sort out where they want to go with their shooting life.
Well, and to start with, and let's let everybody's firearms journey is different. Looking back to when I very first got my very own firearm that didn't belong to anybody else, it was for home defense.
Yep.
And I think quite often that's what new firearms owners they don't want, if somebody breaks in, they want to be able to equalize the odds. And so let's start there. If somebody's going to be getting a firearm, they tell you they're going to be doing it just for home defense. If it's a handgun, get them a small safe, a small, safe that they can put near the bed, easy opening, but yet it's got a combination so that your average Joe just can't walk up there and lift the lid and then they've got access to a handgun, or children can't get to it.
I think that would be even more important. Yeah, it needs to be handy and quick access, but inaccessible to, I hate the term, unauthorized people.
Yeah.
If somebody's coming through and doing a break and entry and grab your stuff, make it hard for them to take it, because typically, looking at stats, a burglary is like 5 minutes or less. They're in and out real fast, so they'll get the stuff they can get quick. But they know where to look. They know to look under your bed. They know to look in the crawl space, up into the attic. They know to look in your sock drawer, under your undies. Diane and I have a quick access safe in the bedroom upstairs, so we don't have to go down to the main safes on a different floor. And we're fortunate we don't have any small kids in the house, but when we do have small kids in the house, we have protocols that are real strict. So I think that's probably one of the first things in a new gun owner's mind. They're aware of the safety risks. They're aware of that, and we can push them toward good stuff. I'm not a fan of biometric stuff because I've seen it fail.
Yes.
I've seen it fail. Keys are okay. When I was a guest with another instructor in Alaska helping them on the class years back, they had a bunch of kids, and they offered us a gun safe with a key on a little elastic wrist strap, so I slept with the key on my wrist. That worked real well. Some type of combination works real well. It's something you can get into, but it's still secure.
My concern with the key is you're startled awake. And are you going to be able to have the dexterity to get that key and they're not big keys, into a not very big lock in the correct direction, get it turned, and get it open?
I would agree with that. Yeah. We've got an electric push button that's battery and plug in the wall backup, so we've got a dual system. And then there's a mechanical key hidden not far away. And we practice getting into it, so it's not like, what's the combination? How do I do it? We do it frequently enough that it's a practice thing. But I think that's a great suggestion. First, make it safe. At that point, something I like to point out is, regardless of your opinion of that particular firearm, whether it's a quality firearm or it's a little, I'm not going to name names, but let's just say POS brand. Mm-hmm. Don't make fun of their gun.
No.
It was a gift. It was an heirloom. Somebody spent hard-earned money on it. It's like I tell beginning students that show up with an inappropriate gun, it's the girl you brought to the dance or the boy. Let's learn how to run it. If they decide that it's a difficult gun to work with, they'll figure it out on their own.
Yep.
You can kind of lead them that way. But once they do, otherwise they'll go, oh, I've got the wrong gun. Oh, why bother? I'm not good enough. And that will go in their sock drawer.
Yeah.
They will not be gun owners. They won't be looking at legislation they need to be looking at now as gun owners. They won't be able to protect their family because we got all snooty about gun quality.
Well, and I would say probably the next step on my, if it were me in that situation, let's go shooting. Go out with me. Let's go shooting, and let's make sure you've got the right ammo for that gun before we do.
I think that's a great idea. Start with a shopping trip, even if it's a separate trip. Hey, let's go get you the right ammo, and then they can be exposed to that with some experienced people next to them. Let's make sure you've got good wraparound eye protection. Hey, let's get you some earmuffs. Oh, look, electronic muffs are on sale. If I can't imagine that our readers are not familiar with electronic earmuffs, but there's a circuit in there that cuts out the loud noise,
Yep.
but comes back on. Usually the cutoff's about 83 or 85 decibels. Allows you to hear range commands, allows you to have a conversation, allows you to hear instruction. And I have seen decent ones on sale in the $40 to $50 range. Somebody who is currently wearing expensive hearing aids right now wishes I had any kind of muffs available when I started shooting. Get in the safety gear. Hey, do you have a cleaning kit? Let's sit down and go through. God forbid I'm going to turn in my man card. Let's go through the instruction manual. Yeah. And with your example, even the gun handling that we do, cleaning a gun. This is how you handle the gun. Oh, notice I never pointed it at you. Just those sorts of things. That mentoring, that modeling of correct, safe, responsible behavior will make a huge impression.
Let me get some.
Then, by all means, take them shooting.
Yes.
Do I see you looking at the comment page there, Paul?
Yes, you do. Let me get a couple of them in here real quick. This from the Facebook side. Larry says, excuse me, learning on bad equipment discourages the owner. Well, yes. That's why you bring your own firearm as well.
Mm-hmm. We have at our school, and many schools do, have loaner guns. People can prearrange, but we'll usually take some extra ones to the range. If I get a brand new shooter and they've got their own gun and it's a little teeny tiny thing that some salesman said is easier to carry and they can't run the slide or reach the controls, one of my instructor tricks is to let them get a drill or two so they've got a few rounds through their own gun and say, tell you what, let me get you one of our loaners. It uses the same ammunition you brought just to see the difference, and typically put them on, let's say, a Glock 19 or 43, something that's a much larger, better made, easier to work gun, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm not incompetent. This can be fun. It's simply a matter of equipment. I can trade this in. And they come to that on their own, rather than fighting a gun and having a horrible time and never shooting again.
Yeah. That's key, is that even if they've got, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to be a snob, I'm going to name names, even if they've got a Sky, even if they've got a Jennings, even if they've got a High Point, those are starter guns, and they're good for they're good for that. I would rather have a High Point than nothing.
Yes. Well, consider that where's a high crime neighborhood? It's the low income neighborhood. What do people with low incomes not have? A lot of money to be spending on guns.
Yeah.
If a High Point or a Sky or a Taurus is the best they can afford, show some respect for that, and show some respect for their situation. Later on, they can correct that, but give them some competency, give them somewhere to go. Help them achieve their goals rather than establish that I'm the gun guru and you're just a newbie. That kind of stuff never works well, and it's irresponsible, and frankly, it's against the principles that we espouse as gun owners, and we're responsible and protective and stuff, and then we go going on ego trips for our blasters, and it doesn't serve the world.
Yeah. Got another comment in. This one from a man you and I both respect a lot. Marty Hayes says, start them out with a 22, and that works if you're going to be the one giving the gift.
I lost a lot of my hearing to Smith & Wesson K22, Marty. I've still got it.
One of
I
my
think
favorite,
that's awesome.
one of my favorite handguns of all time, and this is going to date me a little bit because they haven't been sold in a while, is a Smith & Wesson 422. Great little handgun, runs on 22, and it's almost Glock-like, and you can shoot it and 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 shoot it. Eventually, you're going to want to clean it. Do you ever have to clean it? Never found that. Never found that I had to. And 22 isn't the cleanest ammo.
No, and ammo varies. The problem is if they have gotten this as a Christmas gift, they have no control over what that is, and they may well have gotten a 9x19, 10 mil. You're kind of stuck in this situation with what they have. However, if you have a 22 and you want to teach them, take him to the range with both yours and theirs, and you can go that way.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I found is 22s, especially if you get, how do I put this? The longer the barrel, the heavier the 22, the less chance that they're going to have recoil, that they're going to come up with a recoil scar.
Yeah, well, they don't have to worry about learning recoil control and the fear of the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Women having more sensitive hearing than men, that can be a distraction. Learn one thing at a time. Learn the safe gun handling. Learn the basic control. Start to work the trigger. Once those things are down, the noise doesn't seem to be a problem anymore. The recoil is manageable if you can do it stepwise. But again, if it's a Christmas gift, you don't have a lot of control over that. So you've got to be creative in what you do.
Yes, absolutely. If they live in a freer state, if they live in a South Dakota, if they live in an Idaho, and their goal is to carry it, first of all, I'm going to say a great gift from there would be training, and let's also look at what holster options they have. I would want them to have something that is not soft. I'm going to be the one here that's not going to name holster names. But you don't want a soft holster. You at least want a hybrid Kydex leather, and depending on where they're going to be carrying it, you're going to need to get into a very frank discussion about where they're going to be carrying it on their body. Hopefully they're going to be carrying it everywhere except maybe the post office. But the whole holster thing, the holster thing's a show on its own, dude.
As a matter of fact, it indeed is a thing on its own. One of our classes that we offer is a concealed carry class, and we spend the entire working lunch dumping out the traditional instructor has a box of holsters, and some of them are absolute garbage. And we will go through and say, these are good holsters, this is why, these are bad holsters, this is why, these are the options, these are the things you look for. People don't want to spend a lot of money on a holster, getting them past that, but when they understand what the needs of a holster are, what the purpose and the design characteristics have to be for a holster, which is a whole other topic, they tend to not buy the first thing they see at the store. Because remember that stores have money tied up in inventory, so they'll buy an entire product line. And I won't name them either because I have some of those in my box of holsters.
DeSantis, was that external? I'm sorry.
That's actually one of the better ones. I was thinking of a certain uncle. But it's got to cover the trigger guard to prevent accidental manipulation, hold the gun firmly, snugly, be able to reholster with one hand, not flop around on your belt. Please don't wear small in the back holster. That's the real short form.
Yes.
But again, with us as mentors, I thought shoulder holsters were the stuff. I have a very nice Ted Blocker shoulder holster. I discovered that as soon as I took my jacket off, it wasn't concealed anymore, and oops, that's a problem. Or every time I drew, I would cross my brachial artery. So, yeah, there's stuff. It's funny here in Lewis County. I'll occasionally see people carry openly, and it's legal here as long as you're not prohibited. But I always look at the holster and go, oh, I see you haven't worked out of that holster before, because that will be an epiphany when you try to get a decent draw stroke. So.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Or you
the
try to
shopping.
put it back in the thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't mind people looking their way into a holster. That's fine, because when you're reholstering, hopefully the action's done. If your judgment is good and your luck is with you, but you need to be able to do it with one hand. This again, it comes back to the mentoring good behavior. How many times have you and I seen TV cops and TV movie stars reholster, just that fumbly mess with the holster thing and point the gun at their hand, and just yeah.
Well,
Except for Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is okay.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on one issue.
Okay.
You can, if you have a cover garment, if you're in the wintertime, like right now it's 42 below here at wind chill in Sioux Falls. If you've got a heavy coat, you could. I don't mind if you use your second hand to clear cover garments and jackets.
Oh no, that's not at all what I'm saying.
To get a free area of a free access to put your firearm back in your holster.
I'm saying holding the holster open because it collapsed like Fruit of the Loom underwear. Or thumb straps, there are techniques to reholster with a thumb strap without putting your hand in front of the strap. That's my issue. The soft collapsible holsters. I sent back a holster some months back from a high-end holster maker that collapsed on me. The design collapsed on the belt. And I said, look, it's not fixable. I messed up. I'm past the warranty period, but I won't have this in the house. Great looking holster. Comfortable. Couldn't put the gun in one-handed at all. So we can save them that.
Marty Hayes comes back again, says, Uncle Mike's thin, floppy belt and open carry. Let's talk about belts.
That was the uncle I was talking about.
Let's talk about belts, because a long time ago I had Kathy Jackson come to Sioux Falls and give a class, and as part of that, this is the first time I ever took any firearms training at all. I was this podcast guy that got a little bit of notoriety. I was able to sell 10 seats. Kathy said, if you sell 10, yours is free. So mine was free. I got to have a free firearms class from Kathy Jackson.
The cornered cat.
And one of the things she said is your belt matters. And I'm wearing it, so I'm not going to take it off on camera because it's a family show. But I have one belt that I use every day. I suppose I can go in the other room and get another belt I had when I was significantly heavier before my health issues. But it is important to get a good, firm belt, and one that is designed for use with firearms.
When we do our presentation during our concealed carry class, we'll have a demo belt. It's a rigger's belt, but it's really, really thin, floppy. And we'll just put a holster on it with a dummy gun, and you can see the holster flops around. And when it was on your person, the butt would flop out away from the body and print and never be quite in the same place when you reach for it, as opposed to a firm belt. So who would think of that? Our introductory students to concealed carry don't think about the belt. They think about the holster. So all the belts that I have are nice and thick. They're either gun belts or actually they are all gun belts because I buy them from leather makers. In the standard sizes, you've got the belt loop issue. Who would think that the belt loop in the holster might not be the right size for a standard belt? These are the little things we can mentor and save them a couple of bucks in the long run.
Yes.
Because I looked at that Boxo holsters just the other day doing a presentation, and I started mentally adding up how much money I had tied up in all that crap. That made me cry.
Yeah. Larry makes a good point. It needs to be wide enough to fit the loop. So, yes. And I found that I never, ever, ever used to do this. I used to go to wherever I'm going to buy my clothes from. I'd find my size, I'd buy it, I'd take it home. It works. I now, when I'm buying pants, go to the dressing room so I can take my belt and make sure it fits in the belt loops of the pants. There are a lot of, especially if you're going for dress pants, they got these tiny little belt loops.
1 1/4 inch is the standard men's dress belt.
Yep.
1.5 is what I'm wearing with the cargos I have now. 2 inches like a duty belt or a Sam Browne. Women's belt loops aren't always the standard 1.5 inch width, which would also be the belt loop on a common holster. Women's pants also don't have as many belt loops as men's. Mm-hmm. So the distaff side has more of a challenge, not only the amount of real estate around the waist, but getting the belt in there. Something you need to think about. I went to a wedding one time. I was there legally carrying. Unfortunately, my belt and my holster did not match up, and I could not wear the belt. I had dress belt loops, 1.25 on the holster, and I had a 1.5 inch belt. So those little things make a difference. I had a backup system. 2 is 1, 1 is none. We made it work.
Absolutely. One last thing, if you know somebody, and you've got to be extremely careful with this. But if you know somebody that's becoming a first-time firearm owner, maybe through a Christmas gift you gave them, but let's encourage them to start looking at politics and looking at what's trying to be moved forward and who's moving it forward. If they become a gun owner, it'd be really nice if they voted with us, but you cannot come across as preachy. It's got to be more as a friend type thing, and a lot of it, I honestly believe they're going to figure out on their own.
It's political, certainly, and there's a lot of that, and you do a lot of good work on all your shows, Paul. Another thing is simply understanding gun law as it applies to what we do every day. I'm amazed by the comments we get. People think that, I can do this or I can do that, which the law specifically prohibits, or I can't do this, the law permits. Again, that's part of a good basic class. We do it. I know other schools do it. Once you understand the regulations, you begin to understand that I know more about gun ownership, gun mechanics, self-defense, reality, all that stuff, than the people making these laws. The shoulder thing that goes up. Remember that one?
Yes, I remember.
This is another. We need to educate folks, and once they see the shenanigans going on at a legislative level, we've got a better society.
The lung blower outer is another one that comes to mind.
9mm lung blower outer.
Yes.
Here's my clip box of 9mm lung blower outers. Okay, in the comments, guys, I know it's not a clip; it's a magazine. I'm being facetious.
Yes. I must have moved it. I do have. It is not. It's not currently in full use, but I've got for a car. I've got a extended mag right here. I keep one here. It's currently an empty seed dispenser, but this is my 4th magazine for my car, and it just doesn't have any seeds in it right now. So
teaching them things like magazines, you need lots because they're expendable. All these bits of experience, we can save them time, money, effort, and it's so much more fun. It's much more fun to shoot when you know what's going on, rather than go, my gun jammed.
Well,
I say that facetiously, but it happens.
I think I just came up for the topic for 2 weeks from today, and we usually discuss this off the air, but what the heck?
Go for it.
I want to. When I very first started driving truck, I was okay, and because of the policies of the company that I pulled freight for, which I vehemently disagree with, but if you're licensed to drive truck, you are able to train new drivers. I'm afraid I may have ruined a few at my very early training career, but I will tell you this. In truck driving, becoming a trainer makes you a much better driver. I'm wondering if maybe in 2 weeks we talk about going from being a gun owner, gun user, to being a gun trainer, and what that looks like.
I will share with you real briefly, because I know we're about out of time. The process when I go through stuff for these, we have a topic, you and I will sit down with Diane. Diane's my wife. She's been a trainer, instructor at the Firearms Academy of Seattle, started when I did, and a wonderful shooter on her own. And we will go over our morning coffee ritual and talk about stuff. And this would be interesting because this came up in a staff meeting. So gun owner to trainer. If any of the listeners have any suggestions or comments on that, please join in. It's a group effort, folks. We are a community.
Yes. If you have a suggestion for a topic for Training Friday or any of the shows, contact me on Facebook, or my email address is paul@politicsandguns.com. Let me get a couple comments in on our way out the door here, because we are over time. But you and I, that's
always
for us.
That's on you.
Larry on the Facebook side says, knowing what they don't know can predict what questions they do not know to ask. The old saying is, you don't know what you don't know. Well, if the instructor doesn't know what you don't know, they don't know where to.
That's like Paul said at the very beginning, Larry. We probe them. What do you want to use this for? And they'll tell you, and they'll start talking about where the idea came from, and their Aunt Millie got broken into, and listen to them. Start listening to them. Yeah, but you need to have a kind of a plan.
Yeah. Last one for today, gun websites. Pete says, I feel your pain. I used to buy tuxedos off of Amazon, but the belt loops were always too small. Now I just have them custom made. And I'm guessing a little more money, but probably not as much as a lot of people think. So, yeah, a custom tuxedo sounds very expensive, but I would rather have something.
Yeah, but if you can't carry your box,
good.
Yeah.
So, all righty, man. Well, Tom, is there anything that we are in the dregs of winter? Anything that you want to plug for the Firearms Academy of Seattle?
I will always plug for the Firearms Academy of Seattle. It's my second home and a place I believe in. Unfortunately, it's winter. It's dark. It's cold. Currently, the roads are covered with ice. We are in our off season right now. We pick up at the end of January with Steve Fisher teaching some low light classes. We get into our, hey, check this out, Introduction to Handguns class toward the end of February. Take a look at the schedule, www.firearmsacademy.com, to see what's going on.
Very, very cool. On my end, I don't usually say this until tomorrow, but this wraps up our broadcasting week for the Second Amendment Foundation. Please do come join us again Monday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and we'll be broadcasting next week as well, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Central Time, for your regular episodes of The Bullet. Until then, everybody, stay safe, and we'll see you